Hi guys. Wow, what a night. This eruption was also something else, I have to say, something with effects that they probably did not expect. So this time Grindavik was spared. There was no lava flowing into Grindavik. But now the Keflavik airport is affected, and I will tell you how just in a few minutes. I want to talk about something else first, and this is what the MET Office has said. So Benedict of Feixson, he's a geophysicist at the Icelandic MET Office. He has said that people can expect an eruption every month sort of thing, or even in less than a month for the next coming month or seasons. So you can't really define, he can't define how long this eruptive period will last. But if you look at the dates when we had these eruptions, so the time between the eruptions is getting shorter. So this is the third eruption in 3 months, and the intervals are decreasing. We had the first eruption on December 18th, and then we had the next one on January 14th, and now we had the third one on February 8th. So it's getting shorter. So can we expect another one in about 3 weeks? Because this one, it also hasn't been a big one, a long one. It's already dying down. So there is no more threat from lava flow as it seems, because it has really come down. So there's still some hot spots, but it's not as big anymore. So the December 18th eruption so far has been the longest in regards of how long it was going strong. But still, this is quite a thing. So there will not be any relief for the people of Grindavik as well, because these eruptions always come with earthquake swarms. And what was fascinating to me, that already yesterday, while the eruption had just started, they were sending people into the town of Grindavik to do a first assessment of damages. And that was quite risky, wasn't it? But the electricity did last for quite a while in Grindavik. And then it was a thriller at night to watch the lava flow towards Svartsengi, towards the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon. And the lava has crossed the road Grindavik-Vegua. I want to show you a map here that the Icelandic Meteorological Office has released. It shows really quite good the lava flows from the December 18th eruption in a darker purple, and now the lava flows that we just had today and yesterday. So what the Met Office is saying, that in the long term, it's very difficult to say what's going to happen with these eruptions and how long they will last and what the intensity will be. But in the short term, like thinking about the next few months, they are pretty sure that we will probably continue to see repeated magma intrusions like we had on November 10th. So magma flowing underground, but then not enough pressure to come to the surface, but also eruptions. So while there is still this land rise underneath the Svartsengi area, which means that the magma chamber there is refilling after an eruption, we have to assume that it can continue like this. And so now let's have a look at that map. So if you look at that map, you see where the word Svartsengi is written. That's the main road Grindavik-Vegua that basically leads out of Grindavik. So that it goes from north to south or south to north. So that's the main road to enter Grindavik and also to get to the Blue Lagoon, to the tourist attraction. So we could see the road burn. When the lava reached the asphalt was melting and really like burning. It was crazy to see these live pictures. And then it's really, if you see to the left, there's the the defense wall that goes around the Svartsengi critical infrastructure and the Blue Lagoon. And there you see that red line with the dots. That's that pipeline. That's the hot water pipeline that basically supplies the southern peninsula of the Reykjanes Peninsula, the southern part, with hot water. And as you know, this is a geothermal power plant. So the homes are getting their heat through these hot water pipe. They're getting their hot water through this, but they're also heating their homes with this. So this is very, very critical. So the lava did flow over it and it did do the damage. And this shows how vulnerable the infrastructure is. And this is only one geothermal power plant. And that already supplies some subdivisions of Reykjavik with some power. So imagine it's the winter, it's very, very cold and people don't have heat. And then you can say, well, they can buy electric heaters as a backup system, but they just have announced today that this will blow the grid. So they're saying, please do not use electric heaters because the power grid cannot withstand that. And here we go. The Krysuvik airport doesn't have heat also. And what are they doing? They have turned off their air conditioning system to keep the warm air in the airport as long as possible. And so they're saying basically right now the passengers don't feel it as of yet, but in a few hours they said they're getting some planes from Spain, from the island of Tenerife. So when these people are coming from a warm area and then have to get into the cold airport, it's probably not pleasant. So they're hoping that they will be able to restore that system tomorrow. But still, let's imagine the eruption had taken longer and you can't repair it that quickly. It's a dire situation if that happens in the winter. So this map, it really shows me, guys, that I think having people in the Blue Lagoon, in the hotels there, was stupid, because the chance was there that this eruption could have also opened up inside the Svartsengi area, inside these defense walls. So now Iceland as a whole is facing a big problem, because these are costs that are coming towards them because they need to protect their critical infrastructure way more. And I think they understood this now. They have tried yesterday, when it was clear the lava is flowing, and it was flowing quite fast towards the pipeline. These brave guys, these awesome guys who run the excavators, they like drove there so quickly and tried to put the pipes underground to bridge in case the lava flows. And they only had like 3 hours time, so it was impossible. And also to build like a defense wall. The problem is, if you look at that map, you can't really build a defense wall for the pipeline, because if you do so, where would you divert the lava to? You would divert the lava towards the Svartsengi defense wall, and then it would accumulate there and probably flow over the wall into the power plant. So if your power plant is damaged, you really don't need the pipeline anymore if that's it for the power plant, right? So I think they are a little bit in shock right now, because maybe they're realizing now how serious this is and could become if something like this goes on for a longer time, because everything in that area, and now I'm saying it, guys, you missed it in my last video, is like a Swiss cheese underneath, right? Lots of fissures has opened, lots of tunnels, so that magma chamber has way more areas to spread out easily without having to dig more tunnels. And that's why we have seen less earthquakes this time. So they first said there was a 40-minute warning, and I doubted that, because I was watching it live. Rudy, Eddie, and Apollo and I, we were sitting on the couch and we were watching this, and we were like, there's earthquakes, I think it's starting now. And I was thinking, oh, I'm so tired, I just released 2 videos, I just want to go to sleep, I hope it won't. But I looked at it and I'm like, I think it will. And then a few minutes later, poof, it was out. So I don't see the 40 minutes, and today they have said it was a 30-minute warning. So that's the problem. The warning time gets shorter and shorter. And now let's imagine they had all these hotel guests in the Blue Lagoon. I'm sorry, it's not about bashing that Blue Lagoon, but this is, for me, this is an example that something's probably still going wrong, because the guests, like for a third time, had to be evacuated in the middle of the night. And with 30 minutes warning time, that is very, very short, guys, because you have to imagine if this happens during daytime, then that pool is full. And until you get out of the water, this takes time because you have to wade through the water, and this pool is big. So once you're out, you want to get dressed and get your stuff, and you need to drive away. So, I don't know. So some people were making the jokes, at least, I mean, if you look at that map here, at least now all the roads are blocked, so they can't let the poor tourists back in. But I'm sure they will probably try to find a way around that pretty fast. But by looking at that map, it really shows, although this wasn't a very long-lasting eruption, that lava was really flowing like a river, and it was really flowing very, very fast and very, very far away from the eruption site. If you compare it to the darker purple area, I mean, it was kind of clear that if there's these two craters open, that it would flow around these craters. But this one has really found its own way. So yeah, this is something else. I really have to say, I don't know how else to call it. Right now, we have the volcanic activity in 2 to 3 locations that are still letting lava out. And there was, during daytime, Icelandic time, between 1 and 2 p.m., there was something else that we haven't experienced in the past eruptions. So there was some explosive stuff happening, and that was new. It was only minor convective clouds did rise, but it was happening at some parts of the fissure. And this is because the lava was reaching water, and so when that happens, it gets a little bit more explosive like that. The lava has flown 4.5 kilometers to the west. That's what you see where it flew over the power lines. Also, I want to show you this new hazard map that the Icelandic Meteorological Office has released. So they have updated their hazard map, and of course, the area where the eruption is, you see it here in the orange. That's the current eruption. Those areas are now deep purple because, of course, the eruption is happening there. And they have also elevated the threat level of Grindavik to red. And they think the zones in the Svartsengi area, they have left this orange or upgraded it to orange. I think it was yellow before. So this hazard map is only valid till tomorrow at 7 p.m. So Friday the 9th. And unless there is activity happening that calls for a quicker re-evaluation. So I think since the eruption is dying down, they will probably decrease these hazard levels again. So also what has happened is that and this is also new, that tephra was thrown into the air and it was landing in Grindavik. Some people still have surveillance cameras on their homes in Grindavik, and they could see it land on the ground. So what is tephra? That is basically all fragments of rock ejected into the air by an erupting volcano. And usually if like a volcano erupts, most of the tephra falls back onto the slopes of the volcano, and by that enlarging the slopes. But there was wind going, and it was really blowing right into Grindavik as well. That's not a big threat to Grindavik. It's just a mess that you find on the ground. It's basically like volcanic rocks. But this has really a widespread effect, not only on Grindavik, like we have seen in the last 2 eruptions, but on the whole Reykjanes Peninsula. I mean, I told you about Keflavik Airport, but they're also now having evacuation plans ready for health facilities should that be necessary. So the Durham's Health Institute is preparing an evacuation plan in collaboration with other health institutions in the nearest municipalities due to the imminent shortage of hot water, which means no heat. They have 50 patients in the emergency room right now. Also, retirement homes like nursing homes are on alert to maybe have to evacuate. Basically, they're also ready to evacuate 90 residents of nursing homes and move them to the capital area. So it is something, guys. I really worry, how are they going to do this? They're having an election upcoming. The government might change. They need to pay out the residents of Grindavik. The residents of Grindavik, I'll release a video about this later. They're beyond angry about what is happening because they're left in limbo. There's still no clear answer as to if, when, and how they're going to be paid out and by whom. And that's why they're stuck. Some of them have made offers on other homes, but they can't close. These offers are subject to the government moving. So there is a lot of trouble brewing. And I don't think this situation is going to make this any better, but the problem really is who's going to pay for it. And the natural disaster insurance has a reinsurer, but you know how insurance companies are. If you have a damage and you are in a situation that this damage might occur again, then the insurance companies say, well, you're too much of risk. We're not insuring you anymore. Bye-bye. This happens to people in California in the wildfire areas or in flood zones, right? So this is going to be interesting how this is going to be paid out and it unfold. And, you know, all these defense walls, they're expensive. So they're facing a situation that they have to build defense walls basically around many other power plants. They were thinking, okay, should we put the pipelines underground so that they're safe? But then you have all the earthquakes, so they might burst. This is also not so great. So they have to think of something to protect that, plus their electricity grid. This time, the power poles that were nearby, they elevated them. They had a little lava, like rock barrier around it to protect it from the lava. That has worked this time. But, you know, imagine you have no heat and you have no electricity. Then really, you're sitting in your home in the winter and it could last quite a while if it's a larger eruption. You can't just, you know, fix this maybe in a few days, especially if there's still hot lava coming into that area. You can't push away hot lava. So this is costs that could be immense. And as we already see, it influences as far as Keflavik Airport and areas in the greater Reykjavik area. So who's going to pay for this? It can't, the poor tourists that they're leading back into the Blue Lagoon, this revenue can't pay for that. And Iceland is a small country. They have roughly a little less than 400,000 people. And the majority of these people lives on the Reykjanes Peninsula. That's another problem. About 270,000 out of 377,000 people live on the Reykjanes Peninsula. So there is a lot of infrastructure that they need to protect and rebuild. And we have already seen how much money was wasted in Grindavik because after each intrusion, eruption, they started to rebuild and repair the underground piping, filling in cracks. But then the next one happened and they had to do it all over again because existing cracks that they filled opened again, got longer, wider, new cracks. So it's I always say it's Sisyphus work, right? Or the Fraggles. So very difficult situation. Since noon today, the lava has almost stopped and also did not go any further, but it could be that the eruption picks up again. That's what Benedict of Feiksson of the Icelandic MET Office is also saying. So he said this eruption is very similar to the one that we have seen on December 18th, and both really started, they took off with great power, but then shortly after they really did die down. But he says, although the power of the current eruption has greatly decreased, there is a possibility that it will pick up again. So they're not out of the woods yet. So that's why they're still running, building defense walls, trying to do whatever they can now, since they know where the lava is really flowing to protect what hasn't been damaged yet. We have a statement from Ulfa Ludvigsson, the police chief in Sudurns, who has been criticized heavily by the residents and businesses of Grindavik for being, they're saying he's rude and he didn't let them back in. But that's going to be in my next video. But he says that the evacuation of Grindavik and other responses have gone very, very well since the eruption started in the morning. And he says the most important thing is that the power plants comes out of this disaster unharmed. But they're having a problem that both main roads, Grindavikur Vegur and Blalons Vegur, are both partially covered by lava. So this means, and he says that Grindavikur Vegur is out of action, and it will obviously be so in the coming months. So to approach Grindavik right now, you gotta do quite a detour, is via the road Sudurnstrandavik and Nesvik, and also the Blalund road is there, but it is damaged in a very, very long section. So the residents said just a few days ago, 2 days ago, they said, we're running out of time. Let us get into the town and let us get our products out. Especially the businesses that have like frozen fish there, salted fish there. Now that the main roads are closed, it's a problem because they got to come in there with heavy trucks and get the pallets out. So they were right, and they're angry. And I think in 2 to 3 hours, I'll release a video about that, because it gives valuable insight in how business owners are feeling. They have given interviews on how the residents are feeling and what they're feeling about how this has been handled by authorities. So let's hope that they can repair the hot water pipeline as soon as possible, because that is really critical. And the CEO of HS Orku, that's the power company, he has given a statement. He says the work on the repairs to the hot water pipeline at Svartsengi is going well, but there is a problem. The access within the defenses is easy to access the pipeline there, but it's not easy to get to the pipe at the end of the lava. So because they just can't drive over that hot lava. So he says we're working behind the broken line to connect temporary pipes that had been laid in the ground on a section that's about 600 meters long, but he says we probably will need an additional 24 hours to complete these connections. So that's the time they need until maybe the southern peninsula will have heat again. So guys, it would be awesome if you could leave this video a like, leave me a comment. What do you think? Who's going to pay for this, and how is Iceland going to survive financially through this? Through aid from other countries? How are they going to do this? Let's discuss this, guys. And check out my site, buymeacoffee.com/silky, and click on the post sections. I'll post some pictures of the eruptions and the maps so that you can get a better overview of how this looks, guys. So I'll always post updates there as well. It's completely for free. And thank you so much for the coffees you keep buying me. I really need this today. It's my third one already. And thank you for the supers. And overall, just thank you for being here on my channel, for the nice and heartfelt comments you leave on this channel. This is so dear to my heart, and I value guys very, very much. And yeah, guys, the next update is going to be out soon. Stay tuned, stay safe. I see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.